My dear students, dear viewers, I welcome all of you with the Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace, mercy and blessings of Almighty God be upon all of you. And today we are going to discuss the further functions of or the differences of the transitive and intransitive verbs. The differences between transitive and intransitive verbs, and we will study some rules or some ways through which we can differentiate, or we can understand, or we can learn what is the actual difference between the transitive verb and an intransitive verb, or how can we recognize the transitive verb in a particular sentence or an intransitive verb in a particular sentence. So I have written on the board causative sense of intransitive verbs. Sometimes we use intransitive verbs, but they imply the meaning of transitive verbs. Or simply you can say that sometimes we can use intransitive verbs as the transitive verbs. It depends. So if I have a verb, I cannot categorically say that this is a transitive verb and that's it. No, it does not work like so. Rather, you can use a transitive verb like an intransitive verb, and you can use an intransitive verb like a transitive verb. So hence it depends how you use the word. It depends how you frame a structure in English language. That determines the function or the definition of the transitive or intransitive verbs. तो हकीकत में ये होता है कि हम किसी को कोई नाम देंगे तो बस वो वही है, यानी किसी वर्ब को हमने कहा ब्रेक से टू, हम कहेंगे ये ट्रांजिटिव वर्ब है तो इसके अलावा ये कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता. नो, इट इज़ नॉट लाइक दैट. रादर ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि यू कैन यूज इट as an intransitive verb, or you can frame this same verb in a structure and that will be functioning like an intransitive verb despite being a transitive verb. So let's understand. Okay, causative sense of intransitive verbs. I have written three simple sentences. He walks, the old man. He ran, a knife through his fingers. The kids fly their kites. Okay, or we can write here, he ran a knife through his fingers. Okay, good. Okay, or the best example will be, sorry, here we can say, okay, it is good. It is a moral obligation that we should and we must help older people to cross the road, or we must help them. In any case, it is our moral obligation. Okay, being a responsible citizen of the world, we have to take such responsible measures to help our elders, to help those persons which are differently abled. And I would like, he walks the blind person. Okay, this is most appropriate, I guess. Okay, now the word walk, or the verb walk itself, it is an intransitive verb. For example, I walk on the road. Okay, I walk on the road. The moment I stop, my process, my action of walking comes to an halt. Okay, that's it. So if I say I ran down the street, and once I come to a halt, my process of running is over. Okay, if I say the birds fly in the air, जानवर जो है वो हवा में उड़ रहे हैं और दिस एक्शन, उनके हवा में उड़ने से हवा का कुछ नहीं बिगड़ता, rather the action flying in itself ends with the pausing, with the stopping of those birds. So walk, ran and fly. We have walk, ran and fly. Ran is the past form of run. Okay. Walk, ran, fly, all these are technically intransitive verbs. Intransitive verbs. Technically, they are an intransitive verbs. They are intransitive verbs, sorry, not an intransitive verbs. If you have to use a or an, then there must be a singular entity. Okay, good. So sometimes we commit mistakes and we learn by them. Okay, he walks, the blind person. He ran a knife through his fingers. The kids fly their kites. तो जहाँ तक walk, ran और fly की बात है, ये intransitive verbs है. और कैसे intransitive verbs है? For example, these are those actions which die with the subject. Once these processes or these actions are stopped by the doer, they are finished. They do not pass over to the object, and object does not receive the effect of that particular action. I walk on the grass. The grass is the object of the preposition on, and I walk. Yes, मैं चलता हूँ, घास पे चलता हूँ, just barefoot feet, and that is walk is an intransitive verb. Similarly, birds fly, for example. But here, all these three verbs, these verbs have been used in their causative sense. They causes some effects. There are some effective results. If there is for example, he walks the blind person, that means walks, the blind person is the object of the walks. तो यहाँ पर हम देखेंगे जहाँ तक walk है तो इसका object है a blind person. Okay, तो यहाँ पर किसी शख्स ने एक ऐसे पर्सन की जिनकी जो बीनाई है जा चुकी है, may God Almighty heal all of those persons who are reeling under such horrendous diseases, such terrible experiences or such terrible pressures. Okay, so walk, a blind person is the object of the verb walk. Hence, here the walk has its causative sense. It causes a person, you have taken a hand of a person who is disabled in the perspective of vision, and you make him or you make her to cross the road, to walk on the street, etc., etc. And in this way, this walks becomes a transitive verb. Technically, it is an intransitive verb, but here it functions like a transitive verb. Okay, the second, he ran a knife through his fingers. And here, again, the object of the verb is the phrase through his fingers. Okay, so ran a knife. You have a knife, he ran a knife. Sorry, here the main object of the verb is a knife, and this is the objective complement, this phrase through his fingers. So generally you can say, I can say, I ran down the street. That's it. Okay, but here the action does not end with the subject, rather it affects the holder's fingers. Okay, now the third is the kids fly their kites. Okay, we have fly, and object of fly is kites. Okay, so when I say the birds fly, the action fly ends with the birds with the subject. But if I say the kids fly their kites, the kites are in the air but they are controlled by the kids. So the kids, this is subject, and the action of this flying, the control of flying is controlled by the kids, and they are operating kites. And here the action passes over from the subject to the object. And this way you can say an intransitive verb can be used as a transitive verb or can function like a transitive verb if you use that intransitive verb in causative sense. So we have now some transitive verbs which are actually and technically the causative forms of their intransitive verbs. We have some transitive verbs which are actually the causative forms corresponding to their intransitive forms, intransitive verbs. For example, I have write, or sometimes there is a little bit difference just in spellings, in certain verbs, where with a slight difference you can change transitive verb into intransitive or intransitive verb into transitive. For example, I have written 3 simple sentences, rather I have written 6, but this is a comparison. Many trees fall during flash floods, or during the flash floods. Okay, and we know the flash floods are always devastating, and we should be sharing our concerns towards environment or towards all those people, those human beings who are affected due to these ravishing floods. Okay, they are always devastating and they are always dangerous. So many trees fall during the flash floods. Here fall, it is an intransitive verb. And then woodcutters fell trees indiscriminately. बड़ी लापरवाही से जो लकड़हार होते हैं, जो पेड़ काटने वाले होते हैं, and unfortunately most of us, we human beings, we devastate, we ravish, we have horrendous effects on the environment around us. And woodcutters fell trees indiscriminately. Here you can see the difference. The trees are the object of fell, and this fell is the causative form of the corresponding intransitive fall and fell slide. F-A-L-L fall, F-E-L-L fell. And it is not, remember my dear students, fell is not the past form of fall, fell, fallen, like that. It's not, it is just a base form. Fell means to cut down the trees. Okay, woodcutters fell trees indiscriminately. In the second sentence, this fell has been used transitively, or you can say this fell is a transitive form, and it is a transitive verb which is a causative form of the corresponding intransitive verb. Similarly, lie still and don't move. Okay, lie still and don't move. Okay, and then we have another sentence, lay these books over there. Lay these books over there. In किताबों को आप वहाँ पे रखें तो lay, here lay is a transitive verb and lie is an intransitive verb. Rise early. My dear students, you must rise early. Not only students, all the viewers, all the human beings rather, I should say, the responsible human beings, we must rise early. We should be early risers and rise early and be the change. Okay, rise early, rise is intransitive verb. Raise your hands. अपने हाथ खड़ा करें आप. So this is raise, it is transitive. So the point was some transitive verbs are the causative forms of their corresponding intransitive verbs, and you see there is a slight difference between fall and fell in terms of spell, lie and lay, rise and raise. Okay, so this is all about this. Okay, now we have another point. Some intransitives become transitives by a proposition. When we add a proposition to them, some intransitive verbs become transitive verbs simply by adding a proposition to them. And how it works? I have written 3 simple sentences and you will easily understand, hopefully. Okay, the first is, they laughed at him. So generally when we say laugh, and laugh is an intransitive verb because the action itself is complete with the subject. But when I say they laughed at him, and this at is a preposition followed by the object him, this is the objective case of pronoun him, personal pronoun him, hence this laugh becomes a transitive verb. Similarly, please look into this matter very seriously. If I say, for example, I look at the sky, it is an intransitive verb because this action, I look, it finishes within the subject, within my own spheres. But when I say, please look into this matter very seriously, so this look becomes a transitive verb when a proposition is added to it. Similarly, we talked about this several times. We talked about this several times. And talk, if I say I talk, and talk is a verb which it is an action which is complete, which is over within the speaker. But here when I say we talked about this several times, about is a preposition and it is followed by this. It is an indefinite pronoun and hence functions as the object of the talk, and you can say this has been used, or in the third sentence, the second, in the first. All these verbs function like transitive verbs despite they are intransitive verbs. So let's move towards the next part. Okay, now we have another aspect of intransitive verbs. We have already discussed it in the functions of noun, but here we have different. You might be, and you should be, and I guess you must be familiar with this concept, cognate object. Some intransitive verbs carry along with them their subject, their object. So I can say some intransitive verbs carry along with them their object, and that particular object is akin in meaning to them itself. By them I mean those intransitive verbs. So we have a verb and we have an object, and those verbs and objects are akin in meaning to one another. They are similar in meaning, somewhat similar in meaning to one another. For example, he sighed a deep sigh. Okay, So he sighed a deep sigh. So here sigh and sigh. Sigh is the cognate object because it is akin in meaning to the verb itself. Hence this is intransitive verb. हालांकि इसका ऑब्जेक्ट है but that is not the actual object, the actual receiver of the action. And dreamt and dream and lived and life. So some intransitive verbs do carry an object along with them, and that object is known as a cognate object, that is generally a noun but akin in meaning to the verb itself. And these verbs, all of them are intransitive verbs and they function intransitively in these sentences. Okay, now we are also familiar with adverbial accusative. We are already familiar with it, and we should be, because we have already discussed in the previous lectures cognate object and adverbial accusatives in the video titled as "Do you know these nouns?" There it is. It has been discussed in detail, but here just a glimpse, just remembrance. So when a noun is used adverbially to modify the verb or adjective or another adverb, and is denoting time, place, distance, weight or value, etc., etc., that very noun is known as adverbial accusative. And for example, the verbs in these sentences are used intransitively. So you can say another like cognate object, we have some objects of the verbs, but the objects are known as adverbial accusatives, not in the case of transitive verbs that they are the receivers of that particular action. Rather, they are just an extra information. We have all the foreigners went home. I swam a mile. I lived there 2 years. Okay, so years, mile and home, these are adverbial accusatives. And lived, swam and went, these are intransitive verbs. Some intransitive verbs, by writing this or by telling you this, I would like to tell you that sometimes we have intransitive verbs, there are objects, but those objects are basically nouns and we call them adverbial accusatives because those nouns are being used or they are being used adverbially to modify the noun, the verb, to modify the adverb, the adjective or another adverb. So in that very case, that those nouns are known as adverbial accusatives, and the verbs in these sentences, they are intransitive verbs. Thank you for watching. I hope that you might have understood so far the main differences, or how can we differentiate between a transitive verb and an intransitive verb. Thanks for watching, and if you have any question, any doubt, don't hesitate. You can drop your question, drop your doubt below in the comment section. I welcome all the suggestions, all the rectifying suggestions or questions. I welcome all of them, and I welcome all of you once again. Thank you for watching.